This is part 3 from the series that we're trying to make about the Jews of Ashkenaz. We're standing in the city of Cologne, or like the Germans call it Köln, or Cologne, like we'll see in a minute. Behind me is where the quarter of the Jewish people were for 1700 years. We know from the time of 321, a little later, the Jews actually had rights. The rights were given to them by Constantine, but the first established community only was like 100 years later. But for 1700 years, until the end of the Middle Ages, the Jews lived in this area, and they had a synagogue, they had a shul, they had a mikva. Now they're trying to they're finding the shul, they're finding the mikva, they're finding all these type of stuff that they're finding over here that proves the ancient residence of the Jews in Cologne. Now, why was it so important, the city of Cologne? The city of Cologne is very important because it was very important for the commerce. We find in Rashi brings in Shemois, in Exodus, Rashi brings that in Exodus 21, when he's trying to give us the equivalence for the weight in a shekel, he tells us that the shekel is worth a half an ounce in silver of half an ounce of correct weight in Colonia, from the silver of Colonia. Interesting to note is that Ramban argues on Rashi, but when he comes to Eretz Yisrael, he writes in a letter to the people of Catalonia back in Spain, that when I came to Israel, I found a shekel, and someone showed us a shekel. I asked by the Samaritans, which they could still read the old Hebrew script, and on it was written shekel HaKodesh, and he had it weighed, and it weighs exactly how Rabbeinu Asher said that it's a half an ounce of the Colonia weight in silver. So that's the story of Ramban. Now let's talk a little bit about which people would have lived in this area. Now, a little background: we know that there was a big probably one of the first Tosafis. His name was the Rava, Rabbeinu Asher. Rabbeinu Asher wasn't in Cologne. He worked more in mines, Magenza or Romanovs. But he lived between 1140 and 1225. This Ravon, he had two son-in-laws. One of them was called Shmuel ben Nitzronoi, and one was called Yoel Halevi Mibona. We'll see why he's so important. Yoel Halevi from Bonn. This Yoel Halevi from Bonn, he lived in Bonn with his also then lived in Bonn. Ephraim Ibona, famous Ephraim Ibona. We'll talk about him also in a different video. He's the one that writes the account of the Crusades, the second Crusades. And this Yoel Halevi comes from Bonn, and he's invited to be here, the rabbi in Colonia. He's invited to be here, the rabbi in Colonia, but he leaves behind in Bonn. He leaves behind his son, which was known as the Ravyo. The Ravyo is Rabbeinu Eliezer, the son of Rabbeinu Yoel Halevi. They were Levium. He lived from 1140 till 1225, and he had when his father passed away, Yoel Halevi passed away here. He took the Ravyu came also from Bonn to take over the mantle of leadership here in Cologne, and Ephraim from Bonn took over in Bonn to be the Rosh Hashiva over there. This Ravyu, when he was living here, he had a brother that was killed, Al Kiddush Hashem, 10 years before he passed away, and it hurt him so badly that he cried so much that he lost his eyesight from the sadness and mourning over his brother, and he had to dictate to his talmidim to write down his chidushim, his novels, novelty on Talmud and Halacha, because he wrote a big sefer called the Avi Ezra, one of the first svarim that was written for Halacha. Another one special person living here, very famous family, was the family of the Rosh. The Rosh was also descendant of this Ravan, like we spoke from before, Ablezer ben Amusim. He was also the rabbi here in Bonn. Now, what's very interesting is that the Rosh was called Rabbeinu Asher by Yechiel from Cologne, and he was a Talmud. Everybody knows he was a student of Maram von Rothenburg. Now, Rava Rotenburg has a response to his Talmud, the Rosh, and through the process of elimination, we know that it had to be written between the years 1265 and 1289. Why? Because he writes it to him when he's not anymore by him. So why would we have to write a response? Obviously, he went back home. That would be in the year 1265, and in 1289, the Rava Rotenburg lost his father, and he signs the tshuva Rabbeinu Meir ben Baruch. It's obviously Tichye. Yechiel. So obviously his father was still alive. So this tshuva had to be written between 1265 and 1281. He writes a response about something very interesting. It looks like in Cologne, the rich people, the people that had money, were hiring people to write them, scribes to write them machzorim. Everything was written with nice calligraphy, a nice font, and they would decorate the machzorim, the machzor, the prayer books for the high holidays, with nice pictures of animals and different types of nice art that was written in the machzor. And the Rosh asks if that's okay. Also, he asks about in the shul, because the shul was decorated also with different nice tziurim, nice sculptures and things that were to make decorated the shul. He asked if that's okay. The Manam writes to him, as long as it doesn't have a certain amount of dimensions, then it's fine. But it's better. It shouldn't be done. But if it's done, it's okay. Now it's interesting to note that we have a tshuva, also a response from the Beis Yosef, brings a motche that Rabbeinu Yukim had the lions taken down from shul, because the lions he had it taken down, and the Ephraim, obviously the Ephraim Ibn held it doesn't have to be taken down. But Rabbeinu Yukim obviously also served over here as some sort of capacity, and he held that it should be done. Now, what they're finding now in the archaeology is they found the whole bima where the Torah stood, and it's made from the same marble that's used in the cathedral. It's not the local marble, because the local stone is a sandstone that's used over here that was used for the building. This was obviously bought from France. So the same people that built the cathedral were the ones that were building the shul, and they found enough pieces to replicate it, so we can have an idea what it's all about. Now we're going to give a little bit of walk down here, because this is the cathedral. I know I don't like to. This cathedral has a special significance, because we know that we know from Yossel and Fadelsheim, he writes in his diary that he has 46 letters of protection. 46 letters of protection that were written by 46 different emperors from the German, from all the German kings, going back to Charlemagne. We're just going to cross the street for a second. It'll be easier this way. Right. So he had 46 letters of protection that he was able to prove. Now this we don't have them anymore, because he writes that all the 46 letters are in the community building of the holy community of Frankfurt am Main. Looks like in 1719 there was a big fire in Frankfurt. In 1719 there was a big fire in Frankfurt, and obviously these 46 letters of protection were probably burnt. But what's fascinating about this cathedral is it's the only place in the world, and it's the only letter of protection. It's actually written in stone. The Archbishop of Cologne, he had it carved in stone, the protection and the rights of the Jews that was put here in the cathedral, and it still stands here till today. As it also testifies of the ancient ties that the Jews had to the Rhinelands, going back all the way back to thousands and thousands of years. This is under construction.